Okay, we're going to learn how to tokenize strings. What does tokenizing mean? We use this a lot when we read files. So tokenizing is the idea of splitting a long string up into its shorter pieces. So here is an example. I've created a string called string 1 that has apple, banana, cherry, grape, peach, and raspberry, all built into it, okay, separated in this case by spaces. How do we split this up to get each of those pieces of fruit out of that long string? Okay, and to do that, we do tokenization, meaning we split it up into tokens based on a delimiter, D-E-L-I-M, I-T-E-R, delimiter. Okay, so in this case, our delimiter would be a space. How do we tell where one word starts and the other one ends? We can tell by the space. We could have commas between these, and a lot of times we have comma separated values in a file, a CSV file. You'll see .csv files where somebody's taken an Excel spreadsheet. Each row becomes individual cells separated by commas. And we can read those into using the text methods that we've learned to read files with. So if we read from that file, a lot of times we need to separate the words back out to their individual items. So this comes in very handy, string.split. Okay, so how does it work? Basically, we tell the string to split up and we tell it how we want it to split. So let's do this. We have to store it when we get done. So when we split these up, what does it store it in? By default, it stores them in an array. So I have these strings that I'm going to break up into individual strings, so I need a little array to hold them. So I can say string array I'm going to call it fruit. So this is going to be my array that holds fruit. Equals, I'm going to use string 1, that's my variable name here, and I'm going to call it dot split. And since I'm splitting on spaces, I'm going to use the keyword null. Okay. Now, we've talked in database, null is not a space, but that's how they use it in C#. A null is an undefined value. It is not a space, but C#, in this case with string.split, and I think you might not even have to use the word in there. Yeah, if you don't use it, it's going to split on the space, I believe. We'll see what happens here. So if we're going to have a little bit array of fruit, how are we going to see what's in the array? Let's use a for each loop. For each, we'll do string piece in fruit. We'll do our list display.items.add. We'll add the piece. So it's going to add each piece. It's going to go through my array of fruit and add each piece to our list box. And we're just using string.split with nothing in there, which should be a null value and should tell it to split on the space. Let's see what happens. Hit go. There, we split it up. Apple, banana, cherry, grape, peach, and raspberry. Okay. All right, so that's using a null, which will split on the space. Again, I could use the keyword null in there if I want to. I don't like that they do that, but they do. Let's do something besides spaces. Let's split up on semicolons. In which case, inside my parentheses on my split method, I can tell it what character I want to split up on. And I want to split up on the semicolon. Okay, and this should work as well. Okay, so anytime it sees a semicolon, it splits it up. And notice the semicolons disappear, the spaces disappear. It just gets the individual tokens. So we have tokenized this string. Okay, let's change it to commas. And you may think I'm being redundant here, thinking, hey, Mr. Geiger, I get the point. And we'll see that commas work. Okay, they work the same way. What happens if there's a mix? I got semicolons, commas, and spaces in my strings. And I try to tell it to split. Okay, I'm going to split on the comma. What happens? Well, it works for the place that I had a comma, but it doesn't work for the other ones. If I put a semicolon here, it splits on the semicolons, but it misses all the other ones, the spaces and the commas. What if I tried to separate them? So let me split on semicolons and commas. Will that work? I don't know. Will it? It did not. Oh yeah, it did. Can I also add a space in here? So there's a space. Let's see if that works. Oop. So it won't work with a null in there. One of the other things we can do is make a little array of our own containing delimiters. So let me make this. It's going to be an array of chars. We'll call it delim because it's going to hold our delimiters. And we can just declare it and put the items in it. We want to split on semicolons and commas and spaces. Okay. Oops, and I should put this first. We'll move it up here. I need to define it before I get to string.split, and then here I can actually specify my little array of delimiters. Okay, so it's going to use this array of delimiters to split up this string, so I can use multiple delimiters, and that should take care of the spaces, the commas, and the semicolons. And it did. Okay, so we can have multiple delimiters. The easiest way to do it is to actually make a little character array. And that makes it easy later on. If we want to add another delimiter, we can just stick it in here in our little delimiter variable that holds the array of characters that we're delimiting on. So that's how you split up a string based on tokens. Excuse me, based on delimiters. That's how you tokenize a string.